Mark, has there been a difference in FDA regulation with the new administration?
There's definitely a difference in the way the new Obama administration and the FDA personnel that have come into the agency are regulating dietary supplements compared to previous administration the last
There
few
is.
years. Absolutely, it's clear.
Why would that be?
Well, first of all, you have to recognize that, and this is no surprise to most people, I think, that a democratically controlled administration is going to be usually more assertive, if you will, toward consumer interests than a Republican administration, which generally tends to be more favorable to business interests. That's generally one of the ways that people contrast the Democratic versus Republican philosophies of the parties, especially from an administrative perspective. So you already have that predilection, if you will, or predisposition of the Democrats to be more, let's make sure we protect the consumer against abuses by industry or bad products or whatever, protect the public, whatever. And the Republicans say we want to make sure that we have less government affecting the ability of business to work in a more laissez-faire economy, which includes less regulation, et cetera, et cetera. So there's a difference in philosophical view.
All right.
That's the philosophical level, or on a political level. On an actual level, the new administration with Dr. Hamburg and Dr. Sharfstein as the FDA commissioner and deputy commissioner respectively have already indicated in the first 6 months of their regime that they are going to be much more active and proactive against all kinds of problems, not just in the dietary supplement community, but also in the general food area, especially with respect to concerns about food safety, recalls, manufacturers putting what some people might consider to be bogus or questionable seals of approval on their packaging, like a little check mark that says that Fruit Loops are really good for you, and trying to fool people to think that the sugar-laden fruit flavored, artificial fruit flavored cereal is supposed to be good for kids.
All right.
So there's probably some good things that are coming out of this assertiveness of the FDA that they're showing that, look, they're standing up to industry and saying, hey, wait a minute, industry, you can't do this. Say Fruit Loops are really, what is that called, Smartwise, whatever that was.
Yeah, and there was Cheerios was taken to task about claiming to lower cholesterol.
Yeah, now on Cheerios with cholesterol, I think that I think that Cheerios is made with whole oats, and there's some evidence that whole oat fiber can actually lower cholesterol levels. So to what extent Cheerios were actually shown to lower cholesterol levels in a controlled clinical trial, I don't know. I haven't watched that part of it yet, but I can see why the FDA might go after that. But at the same time, if oats and oats in Cheerios do lower cholesterol, then depending on how that's measured, that might be a claim or a message that might be constructive for consumers to know. I mean, I believe oatmeal probably has some cholesterol-lowering properties, again, depending on what kind of oatmeal and how it's made or all that. But this thing with the check mark called, Smart Choice or whatever it was called, on the Fruit Loops and stuff, I think was an abuse of the whole idea of consumer messaging using those kind of logos. And I think the FDA acted rightly in this area. Getting back to herbs and supplements, the FDA is very concerned right now about H1N1 claims, swine flu virus, as we tape this in November of 2009, going into the winter and flu season, and we're already into the winter and flu season in many parts of the country. The FDA is rightfully concerned in this area. Now, I think the FDA has taken a policy right now of shoot first and aim later. And I say that with no disrespect. I think what they're doing is they're monitoring websites that have any information that suggests that any kind of product, not just herbs or supplements, but hand washers or air purifiers or shampoos that are on there that claim to be in some way reduce the chance that you'll have an H1N1 infection or something. They're going out and they're sending warning letters to those companies within 24 hours. They've got somebody in front of a computer, probably terminal, just Googling and checking the web out all the time to find these things out. They're not going out and knocking on doors and checking on plants, or they're just checking through the web. And whatever shows up on the web, they're going after it. And frankly, I think a lot of people will agree that in many cases, maybe there's some exceptions, that the FDA is rightfully taking very strong action in this area because consumers are so concerned about H1N1 or the swine flu issue that they may be easily led to believe that some products might be useful that in fact maybe are not.
Because they're frightened.
They're frightened. They may, I wouldn't say desperate, but they're frightened and they're concerned.